for this, and we're good. Okay. These two as well. So originally we were going to cover bidirectional NAT, VLANs, and firewall scripting. I tried to get VLANs and bidirectional NAT working this morning. I wasn't able to actually get it done. I'll probably look into that a bit more, maybe do that in a couple weeks. We'll probably do ESXi next week just so it's a little bit easier, since we're trying to push through all of our competitions now. But in the meantime, today we're just going to cover security profiles and then firewall scripting. So we're just going to jump right into the Palo. Log in as admin. Run configure. And then you should see, basically I've set up everything for you guys. If you look in your network, you have your Ethernet 1.1, Ethernet 2.2, 1.2, and they're all set up to route between them, and we have a NAT set up for you already as well. Oops. Show role-based NAT, that's what I want to do. Something a little bit interesting that we didn't cover last time is that you can do a destination NAT for an entire range of IPs. So here what I've done is I've mapped the 10.0.0.0/24 network onto the 192.168.1.0/24 network. So any IP in the 10 range will get automatically converted to the 192 range without having to specify every single system individually. So it's a lot easier on this end to do that, though obviously that will allow for NAT in things that you might not want to allow NAT for. So if you have like some client system behind your firewall, you might not want to actually have this set up because they'll have an external IP address, and that's not very good. I think at regionals this is the way it was set up, basically, except to use a bidirectional NAT. So our client systems were actually hittable from outside the network. So let's talk security profiles. So there's a few different security profiles that we're going to cover. We're going to edit profile. Let's see if there's anything here yet. No. So most of them are like stock stuff that comes with Palo. So you'll have things like antivirus filtering, vulnerability filtering, so you can like block like Eternal Blue will have like a signature and then it'll block that. So it basically works like a little bit of an IPS. So we will basically go through adding filtering for like all of that stuff. So vulnerability stuff coming inbound, antivirus stuff that might be like pushed back and forth, and then spyware things. But before we do that, we're going to do PII filtering, which is kind of a cool thing you can do. So we're going to edit data objects PII. Oops. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to define a signature for the Palo to match on in order to block PII going in and out of our network. We're going to set pattern type, predefine pattern, credit card numbers, file type any. So it'll capture any credit card numbers that might be going back and forth on our network. Obviously, if the traffic is encrypted, it won't be able to catch that.
Do you know if that'll catch my SQL stuff? Probably not. Only HTTP.
Oh, I don't know if my SQL stuff is encrypted or not.
In transit?
I don't know.
But the best guess would be that it's only going to catch HTTP, right?
Mostly, yeah. And any like plain text protocols. So like if there's FTP,
You think it would?
Yes.
If we were transmitting, okay.
Anything that I can actually read, it will be able to catch.
But that means it's going to have to be plain text.
Yeah. You can do SSL decryption, but I'm not sure if you can do it on like non-HTTPS stuff. That'll be something to look into. That might be cool. Then we're going to do another predefined pattern for social security numbers. File type any. Here you can specify like if you only want to capture stuff in doc files or PowerPoints, things like that. And then finally, we will do a social security numbers without dashes. File type any. And then, so that'll be it for our object here. So we'll catch those three types of data going back and forth. And then we're going to set profiles, data filtering, PII, rules, PII, data object, PII. So basically what we're creating a data filtering profile called PII, we're creating a rule inside that profile called PII, and then we're creating an object called PII. Obviously those three names could be anything you want. And then we're going to do a direction, both, application any. So it'll catch this stuff going in and out of our network. And then we will do a file type any. And alert threshold. So the alert threshold says how many times do I need to match on this data before I trigger an alert to show up in the Palo. We're going to set that to 1. And then we're going to do a block threshold at 5. So once we see 5 social security numbers or credit cards come through the Palo, we'll cut off that connection. And that is that for the data filtering. So then we'll go and we'll set a profile group. So basically the way that these security profiles work is that you add the profile to any of your security rules, and this will basically, if we're going to allow the traffic through, it'll check this stuff, and if it matches anything, it will block the connection anyway. So we're going to set a profile group called default. We're going to add the data filtering profile, PII, a default spyware profile called strict, and a virus profile called default, and a vulnerability profile called strict. At this point we can commit. So basically at this point we have our profiles all set up, but they're not actually being used. So what you're going to have to do here is on every firewall rule that you put in place, you have to add this profile to it so it'll actually catch the stuff going in and out. We set the profile group name to default. If you're going and adding rules through the web interface, it would automatically populate your security profile to this, which makes things a little bit easier, but since we're doing it on the command line, it won't do that for us automatically. So now we get into scripting. If you want to jump on one of the Linux systems that are internal, I learned something new today here, which is pretty cool. So you should be able to SSH into admin at 192.168.1.254. Assuming everything isn't broken. Which looks like it might be. Oh, there we go. Just very slow. So there you go. Should be able to log in as admin there. We're not actually going to do anything here. Just want to show that you can actually do that. A lot of times you might have to actually SSH into the system to actually do any scripting. If you're on like a Windows system, obviously you want to use like PuTTY, and then you would just copy and paste your firewall rules in there. But since if you have console access, it's a lot easier to do this. But you can actually do it on a Linux system without actually having to have a GUI, which is pretty cool. So I'll show you how to do that now. So first we're going to write up the Palo Alto firewall script. And if you have the link to the lab thing, there's a link to the Palo Alto firewall script in there. We call it genrule.sh. WAN equals WAN. LAN equals LAN. Net equals 10. Zoom in for you guys. 0.0 dot. And base equals set rule base security rules. We're gonna do a for rule txt. So basically what this does is that we're defining our two zones. We have a WAN zone and a LAN zone, and then we're defining the external network that we're defining our rules for. So that's going to be 10.0.0. whatever. And then we're basically predefining this so we don't have to type it a bunch of times. And then we're iterating through a file called rules.txt. And the way rules.txt will look it'll basically look like this. We'll have our host number, say 5, and we'll have some application like web browsing. Then you might have another one like 6, and then an application like FTP, if that's a real application, I don't remember, or DNS. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through these in our for loop, and then we're going to split it into two pieces, so the host number and then the application, which is what we do here. And then here we set up the name of the rule. So the name of the rule is going to be the IP address of the system dash the application name. And then here we actually insert the rule. So we're going to set rule-based security rules, the IP address of the system dash the application name, from WAN to LAN, source any destination, the IP address of the system, the application that we're working with, and then application default. And then here we set our profile that we made earlier in our security profile, and then we allow the traffic. So we actually delete this. So now let's make rules.txt. So for our environment, we have a .10, which is going to need web browsing, as well as SSH. We have a 20, which is going to need ms-rdp, and another 30, which needs DNS. And then we just do a shgenrule.sh, and here it will output all of our rules to the screen. So let's put that in a file. We'll call it rules.cfg. And then in our particular case, we're going to add another command to the top of this. If you're on like a GUI system, obviously all you need to really do is just copy and paste this text into your terminal. Actually, you have to do, what do you have to do? There's like some setting you have to set before you can actually copy and paste. I didn't actually look it up because I didn't have a GUI. Let's take a look here. reset CLI. I think. Oh. Yeah, set CLI, run set CLI scripting mode on. And if you do that, you can copy and paste into like a PuTTY terminal. But if you actually are running Linux, you don't actually even have to do that. So I discovered today. So let's exit out of this. You can actually just pipe the commands. Actually, before we do that, we need to do something first. So edit rules.cfg, and at the top of this, we need to add configure. So obviously, right after you log in through SSH, you're going to be in the standard CLI, but you need to get into configure mode. So we'll just type that up at the top. And then at the bottom, we'll type commit. Actually, no, probably shouldn't do that. We'll do that later.
Probably just add it to the script, right?
What?
Probably should just add that to the script, right?
You can. I would not recommend doing that, just in case something gets screwed up. You don't want to commit. You want to review it before you commit. So what we're going to do is we're going to cat rules.cfg. We're just going to pipe it to SSH admin at 192.168.1.2.4. And I have invalid syntax. Let's see what I messed up. Looks right to me.
Application will browsing. Should be service application default, really? That line right there.
Oh, I forgot the dash.
On an unrelated note, do you know if a pseudo terminal is not allocated, whether it actually executes bash or C files or not, or we can do any sort of keylogging if it's not executing a pseudo terminal?
That's a good question.
Because that was one of the issues I was having.
Still wrong.
Enjoy.
Set rule-based security. Rules. From when to when. Oh, that's weird. SSH browsing.
Yeah, that looks legit.
But that wouldn't trigger 4 times in a row, would it?
No, it's just something that's every line.
I bet it's the profile setting. Now let's fix the SSH thing. Let's fix the script, because I just added that profile thing in today. So let's do this, copy and paste that. We'll get rid of the profile setting part here. We'll set it here. All right, let's try that.
So, it fails this time. You don't need to rewrite configure at the top of that?
I do.
Yeah. So we do need to look up what the difference between a pseudo terminal and an actual whatever this is supposed to be is. We're just they're not giving us a pseudo terminal. They're giving us
Yeah, it worked. Okay,
weird.
let's jump back to the actual Palo, so it's not so slow. And then we should be able to show rule base. So now we have all of our rules in here. All that's left to do is to disable the allow all rule and then turn on our firewall. So we do set rule base, security rules, allow all, disabled, yes, and we can commit.
We put that rule in. That's one of ours. Allow all.
No, that's
Oh,
one I
that's
put in there previously.
Well, but that's what I mean. That's a user defined rule.
Yeah. Yeah, if like you get a Palo given to you, it should have that already. Otherwise, if you're setting up yourself, you should do that yourself just to verify.
But it won't be named allow all.
Might not be, no. Might be named something different. So we got no valid threat content packages and stuff because these Palos are actually all out of date. The licenses expired at the end of May last year, in 2018. So
these are the only images we have in the AI lab, though, aren't they?
yeah, I'll talk to Kyle. I'll pay Kyle about that tomorrow, probably.
You should just go talk to Palo. Tell him to give us firewalls. Give us firewalls,
Weird thing is, like, are the actual like threat content package stuff that has a license through January of next year, but the actual Palo license expired.
Oh.
Yeah. That's about it, though.
Didn't you need that for Survey Enterprise anyway?
Not for Survey of Enterprise, but I think for
required license.
they did. They use it in, like, routing and something.
Maybe. Well, I don't remember what you actually need the license for on Palo.
You need it for application stuff. Otherwise, it uses ports.
Yeah, we did that in Survey.
And then you also need it for all this, like, threat filtering.
Well, yeah.
That's about it, really. But you want to have that. We will want to have that for next semester. You will, I mean.
Well, yeah, nice. I won't like that.
Yeah. So that's it for today. Fortunately. 30 minutes. All right.